Hello everyone. Today we shall discuss the story of Tess of the Deer Village from the chapter 12. From this chapter, the phase second, the maiden no more also begins. In the beginning of this chapter, we find that it is a Sunday morning in the month of October, and about 4 months after Tess Deerville's arrival at Trentridge. Tess was returning to Marlet with her luggage. She was carrying a bundle and a basket with her, and she was going to Marlet on foot. It was a Sunday morning. While she was going, suddenly Alec came to her in a cart, and when he came to know about the departure of Tess, he immediately came and asked her about the reason she was going away from that place, and he also offered his help to take her to Marlet, as he requested Tess to come on the cart. She was easily ready, and she mounted the cart and sat beside him, and now they were going towards Marlet. On the journey, Alec asked many questions to Tess about the reason for her departure from Trentridge, and he admitted that he confessed that he had done wrong to her, and he promised her to help her in future whenever she demands anything. Her demands would be fulfilled by him. At last, they reached some distance away from Marlet. Tess stopped the cart and got down from the cart with her luggage and bade goodbye to Alec, and he went away, leaving Tess on the road and promising that he would help her whenever she demands for the help from him. Taking her luggage, now she started walking towards her village Marlet. Suddenly she found that a stranger, was also coming behind her with a tin of red color in his hand, and he walked with her, and he talked with Tess. Actually, that man said that the whole week, 5 days, he worked for the glory of man, and on Saturday and Sunday he worked for the glory of God. The man was a spiritual bent of mind. He was a spiritual type of mind. He used to write down the verse on the walls from the Bible, and Soon he stopped a place and he started writing a verse on the wall. And the line was, "Thy damnation slumbereth not." All this line was written in capital bold letters. Tess observed that the text the man painted had a devastating effect on the reader, and the man told that they were meant to be crushing. When Tess read that line, it affected Tess very much because it clearly pointed towards her recent sinful history. After reading that line, she reminds that about her just past, and again the next line the person wrote, painted particularly, "Thou shalt not commit." So that was the work which that man used to do by painting some verse uh, from the Bible, writing on the wall the verse from the Bible. Then Tess reached her house, and Tess surprised her mother by her sudden arrival. The mother asked her that, "Have you come to be married?" Actually, the mother was already thinking that as Tess has gone to Trentridge, she was sure that one day she would get married with that man, Alec. So when Tess came back from Trentridge, the first question of mother was, "Have you come home to be married?" The girl replies, "No." Then the mother says, "Then for some holiday?" Then the girl replies, "Yes, for a holiday, but for a long holiday." Actually, she has decided not to go back to Trentridge, and that's why she says that a holiday for a long holiday. And then Tess told each and every incident that had taken place in her life, recent time, particularly living at a Trentridge. She told each and everything to her mother, and the mother told that, "Why did you think of doing some good for your family instead of thinking only of yourself?" Actually, the mother was telling Tess that you are thinking about your own self, but if you think about the future and the welfare of the family, then you should have married with that man. But once he has given all, the mother also told Tess that the man has given so many things, particularly I have told you the horse, the toys, and all the other things they needed. All these things were given to that family by the Alec. And the mother says to Tess that he has given all those things because he was our kin. And if he is not our kin, then he has given all these things to us only because he loves you. That is the reason. And still you are not willing to marry that man. The reason? She is unable to understand the reason behind it. The girl replies that on matrimony he had never once said a word. Tess says that about marriage, Alec has never talked with her on that topic, particularly marriage. In this way, she told about her recent past to her mother, and she started crying in the lap of mother and saying that I was a child when I left this house 4 months ago. Why didn't you tell me there was a danger in man folk? Because we know then that Tess was a very simple and innocent girl. She was not aware about the evil designs and all the evil plans of the men. Why didn't you warn me? She is accusing her mother. When all the villagers and the neighbors came to know about the arrival of Tess, they were very curious to know because they had also come to know about the person, particularly Alec. They had some knowledge about Alec, and that's why all the villagers and neighbors they were also very curious to know why Tess has come back, what is the reason, and they came one by one to meet Tess, her classmate, the neighbors, and all the well-wishers. They also came and met Tess in the house. After coming back, Tess was not in her real spirit. She was very reserved and in a she became very reserved and gloomy and sad. She did not come out of the house. Rarely she came out of the house. She did not like to talk to anyone. She did not like to meet anyone. And that kind of life was of Tess. In the next chapter, it begins in the month of August. She came back, and the story begins now in the month of August. One August morning, reaping operations were in progress. Men and women were engaged in binding the reaped wheat in sheaves. Tess was also one of those workers working in the field. So, the villagers and all the men and women were working in the field. They were working from morning after taking some small breakfast, and they worked till the lunch, and at the lunch time all the family members of the workers, they brought some lunch for those men and women working in the field, and they left the job and they started taking their lunch. Similarly, the sister of Tess, Lisa Lou, also came with the lunch of Tess, and not only the lunch, she was carrying an infant with her. That was the child of, remember, Tess. That was the newly born child of Tess. She brought the child and lunch for Tess, Tess left the work, and she came down, and then she took the baby in her hand, and she began suckling the child. And when the infant had taken its fill, the younger mother sat upright in her lap. So, after feeding the child, she handed over the infant to the sister, and then sister also went away with the child to the house. Again, Tess started the work in the field. In the evening, when the work was over, all the women were going back to the village in a carriage, singing some kind of songs. When Tess reached the house, she found the infant fell ill suddenly, and the condition of the infant was not good, it was serious. And soon she realized that the son slowly was dying, and it was obviously dying quietly and painlessly. Since the child was not baptized, she thought that if the infant dies without baptization, he would go directly to the hell, and that's why he wanted to baptize the child immediately. But the parson and all the church formality could not be performed right now. Then she herself decided to baptize the child at home. With the help of her brother and sisters, she baptized the child with all the rites and formalities at home, and she named the child Sorrow. But the child could not live long, and the child died at the same night, in the same night. After the death of the child, she wanted for a Christian burial for her son, but the vicar did not agree to it. But the vicar did not allow Tess to be buried her child in the churchyard. The child was ultimately buried where the damned were buried. When the unbaptized child, suiciders, and drunkards were buried, ultimately the son of Tess was buried in the same place. During the following winter, Tess remained at her father's residence, and during that time she was helping to her mother's in the house. Her past experiences had changed the simple and innocent girl into a complex woman. As the time was passing, with her past experiences, the innocent and simple girl Tess, now she was changed into a complex woman, remember. She had become more attractive. Now, Tess wanted to go away from far away, some distance away from Marlet. Actually, she wanted to get away from that place, particularly Marlet, and she wanted to start a new life somewhere else, far away from Marlet. Ultimately, she got an opportunity to work as a milkmaid in a dairy farm, uh, some miles away from that place, Marlet, and the name of that dairy farm was Talbot's Dairy. And she decided to go that place and start a new life there, far away from Marlet. Tess, that place, Talbot's Dairy, which was quite near to the ancient estate of her aristocratic ancestors, the fact was of some interest to Tess. Tess wondered if there might be some good waiting for her in the lands of her ancestors. So, here is the end of the 15th chapter and the second phase also. Thank you.